Hello, and welcome to the Black Ponderer. I'm the host, Neil Trotter, and this is a live stream that we're doing. The Black Ponderer is a YouTube channel where we talk about philosophy. Regularly, we talk about philosophical texts or texts with philosophical themes in them, and we really do a deep dive analysis, you know, analyzing philosophy in text, but we also do these live streams. And that's fun, where we just kind of hone in on a specific topic. And this topic is recommended by a viewer. So what's going on here? Well, we got some chat. Okay, hello Jeremy, and hello Nadia. It's fun and intellectual topic to explore. What makes humor funny to the general public? All that and more this time on the Black Ponderer. So thanks for tuning in. You spell out humor with the in Canada. I believe also you do. They spell that in Britain too, United Kingdom. But here in America, we always want to do everything differently, which is, I don't know. It's kind of like, we got the imperial system instead of metric system. Everybody uses metric except for America. I think Britain also uses imperial. But it's like, could we just get with the program and just use the metric system like almost everybody else? But no, we gotta be special. Just like the spelling of the humor. But okay. Anyway, don't want to rant. So let's hang out and talk about philosophy. Let me read the description here. Humor is subjective. That's true. What makes someone laugh can gross someone else out. Is true. And there are many kinds of things that someone can consider funny. In this way, humor is diverse. From dark comedy to deadpan, from toilet humor to yo mama jokes, the spectrum of comedy is immense. Let's discuss. And then we have Jeremy says, I think irony is the best humor. Yeah, irony can be funny. That's cool. Yep, so that's what we got to talk about today. So we could just go, and if you're watching, feel free to participate in the chat, and then, we can just talk. And, this isn't like a lecture or a sermon or like me talking at people. I started doing these live streams to be more participatory, to have a conversation. If you check out my thumbnails, they're just usually royalty-free pictures of of like bar and lounge and cafe scenes, because I wanted to have that kind of vibe. Like we just hanging out, we're chilling. Sometimes what is a porch or a backyard or something. Usually it's at night because that's when I have these at nighttime. So if you want to talk and participate in the comment section, just have a conversation. That's what I'm here for. It's gonna be fun. And if you want to just throw out some ideas that are kind of off topic, that's fine too, no problem. But we always eventually veer back to the original topic. So it's just a conversation. Humor is useful in dealing with personal struggles. Yep. American humor versus British humor. Yep. Exemplified by The Office, British versus American versions. Britain has its own style of humor, just like many other cultures. Yeah, so I want to say my first sentence here in the description: humor is subjective. So it's funny, right? Not everybody thinks the same thing is funny. What someone thinks is funny, somebody else thinks is not funny. What somebody might think is really funny, another person might say that's pretty damn offensive. The other person might be like, oh, can you just lighten up? Can't you take a joke? Or, maybe they're grossed out by it. So that's that's one interesting thing about humor or comedy that I find, fascinating. What does it mean to be funny? I mean, is there a universal way of being funny? I guess no, right? Or is there? I don't know. Yeah. I'll tell you, like, for example, for me, and it's just anecdote that we could start off with. I've never been a big fan of toilet humor. Just could not get by. I just find that shit so just the fart jokes and the human fluid joke. It's just very disgusting to me. But some people, they really think that shit is funny. Literally shit. People think shit is funny. I find it disgusting. It's got a weird, I just find it weird that people think that's funny. But shit, there's an entire, there's television show. Like, that's why it's hard for me to get into South Park. And I know, like, there's a lot of funny things about South Park, other than the toilet humor. But I know South Park also does a lot of commentary, social commentary, which is, man, I just cannot get past the toilet humor. I just kind of get disgusted by it. It's like I could never. That's why I was one of those people who could never get into that show, South, because it's just that toilet humor is just like, ugh. I just don't like that shit. I don't find it funny. I'm not like trying to be a prude about it. Like, if that's your thing. But shows that kind of venture into that, just for me personally, is like, I just can't get behind. Um, and then Jeremy says, what makes me funny are double entendres and witty jokes and comebacks. Okay. When somebody snaps back, comes back and say like, haha. I remember when I was a little kid, we would have these, they're kind of like Yo Mama jokes, but it went like beyond Yo Mama. We called them cap battles. Like, in 90s slang, there was this word called cap. And, capping on people, which means like dissing somebody. Or I remember in class, we would just like insult each other, just back and forth. Just talk shit about one another. And we call them cap battles. Right. And that was all based off of comebacking. Like, somebody would say something, then somebody would say something back, and you go have the two crowds, and you go, ooh, damn, oh shit, bro. That kind of shit. And that was kind of funny because people would really get really creative, but it was all based off insulting one another. So that was problematic. But that was the thing when I was a little kid. The cap battles. I don't know if that's the word we used. I don't know if that was just a local word. I think it was. I think, I guess the more universal slang term was diss battles. So that was a big thing. And then Nadia says, do you find being silly to be funny? Yeah, sometimes being silly. I guess what does one mean when they say silly? Like that. What's his name? What is the guy's name? Martin. Not Martin Short. The other. Martin something. He was in that movie, The Jerk. But he did a lot of that silly type of humor, where he was just like a silly person. It's like that, or maybe you're more like Mr. Bean style, where he's silly, and then you kind of venture away from Mr. Bean and you get into like the Three Stooges, where it's more like comic or slapstick style, which I find very funny. Now, that's lots of people don't find that kind of humor funny. The Looney Tunes with the anvil dropping off people's head and dying, like the slapstick comedy. I find that shit hilarious. But that's just me. But then, does deadpan humor bore you? Yes, it kind of does. I find deadpan humor a little boring, or dry humor kind of boring, but that's just me. In your life, does aggressive humor make you cringe? Yeah. I remember there was this comedian, I think his name is Dane Cook, and a lot of my friends was really into Dane Cook, but I found him very like he was just it was too much. It was very I found him very aggressive, where he would like his humor was just based on cursing. He would just say the F word like constantly. Those comedians that just are just cursing all the damn time. And that's kind of their whole bit. Or they're like yelling at you a lot. Is yelling and like that the effing mother effing thing and oh my effing blah blah blah. And some people find that funny. And it is kind of funny a little bit because it's kind of it gets zany and it gets like it's kind of ridiculous, but it gets old really fast. Right, where you're just like, dude, like, stop shouting at me and stop cursing at me. Like, it's not that big of a deal. You making me laugh, or you trying to like beat me up? I don't understand. And then humor depends on different cultures and ways of expressing themselves. Yep, it certainly does. Certainly does. I remember, if you want to talk about silly, I remember I used to be a huge fan of stand-up comedy. Not so much anymore. I'm trying to think why, and I don't know the reason. But I was really into 90s stand-up, like 1990s. Like Jim Carrey, man, that guy was funny as fuck. Like his stand-up comedy, that shit was funny, man. Because he was silly. He was very silly, and now he's gotten a little bit more serious in his entertainment, in his media. He gets more serious sometimes, but and I know Jim Carrey is kind of famous for like taking it too far, where he would kind of like push his comedy, not in an aggressive way. And that's my doggy. He likes to bark. Not so much aggressive, but he would like. Yeah, I remember. One time he was on Arsenio Hall, the Arsenio Hall. So Jim Carrey was on Arsenio Hall, and he was drunk. And like I think he was acting. He wasn't. Or he might have actually been drunk, but he probably was like more just playing it up. And he just played as this drunk guy on the show. He just refused to not be serious. And he was on live television and shit, But that back then, Jim, he just didn't give a fuck. He was just like, whatever, I'm just doing this because it's funny. Some people didn't think that was funny. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Arsenio was not amused. I think he just was like, get the hell off my show. I'm not here for that. I don't know what they might have reconciled. That was a long time ago. They probably didn't. And then Jeremy says, most people are drawn to funny people rather than serious people, it seems. Is that so? Nobody wants to be serious all the time. No, that's true. Yeah. But, some people don't like. I know people who aren't really into comedy, to be honest with you. I do personally know people who are kind of serious, who don't really enjoy comedy, which is, I do know people like that. So there's that. And then I put okay. And there are many kinds of. So humor can be diverse, right? And it's a spectrum. Right? So in the chat, I wonder what's y'all's favorite types of comedy. Somebody said irony and double entendre and witty jokes. That's cool. I I could totally acknowledge, I think the things that make me laugh are things that are not highly intellectual, or they're really stupid. They're really stupid. And then Nadia says, my grandpa was pretty serious. He didn't really like comedy. Yeah, I have some friends who are just, they're kind of yeah. there used to be this show, which was a comedy. It was a spin-off of Beavis and Butthead. I think Beavis and Butthead is one of those shows I really think is very funny, even though like if somebody were to say like, "How the hell do you think this stupid shit?" I would totally agree. Like, yeah, this shit is really stupid. But yeah, I don't know, it's really funny to me. But the spin-off of Beavis and Butthead was this show called Daria, I think. And Daria, it focused heavily on dry humor and deadpan humor. And but I know people who are like Daria in real life. I think that's what it is, right? I think that's the name. Or I'm not saying Dora the Explorer, right? Yeah, Daria. Daria. I know people who are like Daria in real life, but they're not actually funny. They're just kind of that serious. They're like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. I know people like, and they're like, this is who I am. And I'm like, okay, well, that's who you are. But yeah, I really like Beavis and Butthead. I would watch Beavis, and this is when I was a little kid. And I'd be on the floor laughing. What first of all, I just like slapstick comedy, but I also enjoyed. It was rare in the '90s because you saw a lot of black people acting stupid on television. Idiotic and stuff. But you didn't really see a lot of white people like act stupid, like and dumb like that. So I think like Beavis and Butthead was kind of that. Why I liked it was you got to see like white stupidity on television, kind of showcases, which I think is one of the reasons why a lot of people didn't like Beavis and Butthead, because it kind of showed a side of white America. Because the person that created Beavis is Mike Judd, I think his name is. He's done a lot of stuff like Office Space, which is hella funny, and he's done King of the Hill, and like he's done that movie Idiocracy, which is okay. So he's pretty good with the social commentary, Mike Judd. I would. Some people look at Beavis and Butthead and say like, "Ah, yeah, that's just stupid ass shit," which it mostly is. But it does I think it does have like a bit of social commentary because it's kind of showing you white American stupidity, and it's kind of putting a spotlight on that. And I think a lot of people didn't want to see that, but it was there for the showing, and it was just very enjoyable for me. The creator was really good at doing that, kind of showing you kind of the stupidity of real life in a funny way. Same thing with Office Space, which was a movie about like corporate America or working in an office, and just the banality and the stupidity of it. And I recently watched the Idiocracy for the first time. I kept skipping it. People are like, you should watch that. You would like it. And I watched it. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good idea. It's in case you don't know, it's like a movie. I think it was made in like 2005 or something. And it's a movie about some guy who he's frozen, and then he reawakens in the future, and everybody's like stupid because the premise is people are getting stupider and stupider as we move into the future. So people are like, in a world where everybody's an idiot, how do you navigate life? And it was some good commentary, but I think it got veered a little it just started getting really dumb, in its comedy. It started really it became like frat boy style humor. Yeah, it's kind of like watching one of those frat boy movies. It's too bad. So I think it kind of missed the mark, or missed the execution. But it was alright. And then we have comments. Intelligent people are usually funny, in my opinion. Oh, okay. Do you see yourself as naturally funny? No, I do not. But I enjoy comedy. I do think I do find a lot of humor in the world, and I do laugh a lot. But I wouldn't say that my humor translates well to other people. Like things that I say is like, I don't think I would be a good comic or a stand-up comedian. I don't think so. Right. What's some other funny things? Yeah, I used to like a lot of stand-up comedians, but a lot, but several of them, like, I can't like them anymore because what we know about them now, which is kind of sad. But like, I love Bill Cosby's stand-up comedy, but like, can you even say that? Like, it's too bad, right? You can't even say like, yeah, because he had a lot of good stand-up shows, Bill Cosby. But it's like, how the hell can you even say that anymore with like, and now everything that's known about him, nobody wants to talk about him anymore, which is a sad thing. But who else? Martin Lawrence. He's cool. A lot of that old school stand up. I really like. Martin Lawrence is cool. Yeah, a lot of those like black '90s stand up comedy routines, kind of that In Living Color era era style of comedy, which I think a lot of people who are like Generation Z people will probably look at that comedy and they probably won't think it's that funny because I think it's very of that time. A lot of it is very politically incorrect as well. So there's that too. But that I really would laugh a lot watching that shit. That used to be one of my favorite genres of television. Is like stand-up comedy back in the '90s. Yeah, I don't think. Well, let's see if there's any other things that I saying it in the description here. What's? I'll ask if you want to respond. That's cool. If you don't, okay. Let me change that because I might be missing. I gotta change from top chat to live chat because then if it's live chat, I'll be missing stuff. But I'll ask the chat, like, is there any comedy you don't think is funny? Like, you're like, yeah, I don't think that's funny. Like, for me, it's toilet humor, and other than that, I guess that really aggressive style humor where people are coming at you like they want to fight you and shit. Did you see the fucking thing that happened the other day in the fucking? It's like, dude, stop. Like a lot of those I was just gonna say white guy humor does, but I mean that's not very descriptive. Yeah. Let me see here. I think with humor, there's a rebellious element in talk about unpopular things. It can be risque. Yeah, that's something we could definitely talk about. And Chris says puns. You don't like puns? Okay. I used to love Dave Chappelle, Nadia, but now I don't think he's funny at all. That's another guy. Humor. I don't like racial jokes. Okay. Yeah, that gets old real. That was the thing that was really big in the early '90s. But yeah, now it's like that's. I'm trying to think. Was it ever funny? It might have been funny back then. But yeah, now it's like it's kind of just played out. Kind of like Dave Chappelle. He's kind of played out. Sad to say. We could talk about him. Humor can be appropriate depending on someone's age. Okay. Yeah, we could talk about rebellious humor, and then we could talk about. Let's talk about Dave Chappelle for a second. I used to like Dave Chappelle a lot. I think everybody, like, at some point No, I'm sure there was some people who were like, yeah, I don't like this guy. But I was one of the people who really enjoyed, he made me laugh with the Dave Chappelle show. But I think ultimately what happened to him is that he kind of just ran out of ideas. Don't you think? No, I think that's what happened. But maybe I could be wrong in that assessment. Because I know, like, he's criticized now because he does a lot of, like, he says a lot of jokes that are transphobic and and kind of homophobic. He's kind of more traditional and heteronormative, and he just doesn't want to get out of that. Um, and then he kind of, like, when people say, like, hey, maybe you should, like, kind of change your routine, he's like, nah, I'm just gonna do what I do. And then he gets into this whole, like, you guys are, like, attacking my freedom to express myself type of mode. It's like, no, we're not really doing that. We're just kind of saying your jokes are kind of played out, man. I think he's kind of stuck, and it's pretty sad. I just think he's really stuck in this mode of, he used to, his style of comedy where he was like more of this truth teller, and he was really putting a spotlight on race relations, and he was like making that funny. He really, kind of made fun of how we viewed race in the world, and he did it in this way that was really explicit. And it was really in your face, and it was funny, and he was very, like, intelligent about that. But then he didn't really understand, like, the connection that racism has with other forms of discrimination. Like, he doesn't really understand intersectionality. He doesn't understand how, like, racism is tied directly with, like, sexism and gender discrimination and a homophobia. He just doesn't get that. Right? He doesn't understand. That would be the next step. Like, you need to, like, progress, but and so he's kind of stuck in the whole, like, well, racism is bad, and I've experienced racism, and that's bad. It's like, okay, you gotta start looking at the whole picture and just start understanding discrimination as a whole. Right? But that never clicked for him. So his comedy could never mature. So he got his comedy got tired and dried out and just kind of played out. And it's too bad. A very insightful comic, but then he just hit this wall because he refused to kind of look at his own, connect the way he experienced discrimination with other kinds of discrimination. It's all connected, but he just can't make that. He can't connect those dots, and it's sad. That's what I think about him. And will he ever? Nah, I guess he just won't. So he'll just always be kind of stuck in this era, like the early to mid 2000s. He's kind of stuck in that era, and he just can't progress out of it. Oh well. It's got, like, a lot of feminists who are kind of stuck in second wave feminism, and they can't get out of they can't move past, like, women's rights. It's like, well, feminism is more than just women's rights. Like, it's about rights for everybody, but you have to start connecting the discrimination of women and make that connection with other kinds of discrimination. But lots of people fall into that trap, right? So yeah. And then Nadia says, I kind of think that his fame got to him. He started being part of the elite class and even had Elon Musk up on stage defending him. Yeah, that was in San Francisco, I think, which is, like, where I'm from. I'm from Oakland, but San Francisco Bay Area, and of course that was gonna happen. Like, that's a liberal bubble. San Francisco, like, yeah, they hate Elon over there. So. Is that what the problem was? He got, like, super rich, and he got, like, a part of the upper class, and so he's kind of, like, in that realm. Yeah, that's probably part of it. That's probably part of it. Now he just rants about certain subjects. It doesn't even try to make them funny anymore. Yeah, he just rants and complains, such as the trans stuff. He's like, yeah, man, I wish people would just let me to explain my position. And now y'all blocking my free. It's like, dude, like, like you have millions of dollars. You're not the victim anymore. Like, what the fuck? Excuse me. Just complaining all the damn time. It's kind of sad. It's true. Chappelle's lacking wit to make his comedy effective and funny. Yeah, it's just too bad. Like because it's funny because his comedy used to be very insightful and very witty, and it was like highly intelligent. You know, it's rare to have a comic that like can do that kind of thing. You know, like George Carlin's style level, you know, or like Richard Pryor level, you know, where it's like, wow, you're like you're learning and you're laughing your ass off at the same time. He was that level of comedy, but then he just got stuck. I guess maybe it is true. Like he got rich, and then that just blocked his mind. I just think he just um, like a lot of people like him, like a lot of black African American men, they're just like in this patriarchal like way of thinking, and he just doesn't know how to get out of that. Because I know a lot of people, friends and family who are black guys, and you know they see the racism, but they just don't see anything else. Like they just think the racism is the only form of discrimination that exists. And then you talk about, yeah, but there's this thing called sexism. It's like, well, no, there's not. Or like, yeah, there's this thing about homophobia. Well, no. Even like you know, there's the society treats poor people badly. It's like, no, but actually, poor people don't work hard enough. Bill Cosby was like that. He'd be like, that you need to pull your pants up, you know, pull your pants up and tighten your buckle. Then people will take you seriously. You know, it's not about you being poor. It's like, come on, man. Like, I think he's um, of that school of thought. I don't know. Comedians nowadays need to learn a thing or two about being witty and using metaphors, poetry, double entendres, entendre, entendre. I can't help but put that accent on it. I don't know why. Irony, etc. I mean, you know, I agree. Comics aren't really as funny as they used to be. But maybe that's my okay boomer. You're like, okay boomer. But I look at comics now, I'm like, why is this shit ain't really as funny as it used to be? Um, because it's a little too dry. It's a little too like like lecturing me. You know, it's like, am I like, is this? Are you trying to teach me like you know, is this like critical race theory or something? Which I have nothing against that. I'm woke. I'm woke. I'm woke. I have nothing against any of that. I'm just saying, is like, can you like actually make me laugh instead of like trying to like teach me shit? Like I do that on the channel. Like you could be a guest at the Black Ponderer. I'm not saying that, don't get me wrong. I love to learn, but it's like I thought I came here to laugh. Like that's what yeah. I don't know. And then I think I skipped. Oh yeah, I think humor. Jeremy says, I think with humor there's a rebellious element in talk about unpopular things. Yeah, man. One of the cool things about humor, which makes it hard, is it's like, you know, being rebellious. It's kind of like showcasing a problem in society. And like, and say like, hey, isn't this stupid? And then people will be like, yeah, you know, it actually is kind of stupid. Yes, that's social commentary, but like showing the absurdity of it, and so being a rebel like that, and people are kind of, but I don't know. I haven't looked at comedy in a long time, so maybe people are doing that, and I'm just not noticing. But well, every time I look at, like, I'm talking about who are like, I don't even know. The last time I stopped was like the Dave Chappelle era, and then they started having like people like Maya Rudolph and like Tina Fey and like all those SNL actors. What was that other one? Yeah, all those SNL actors who had stand-up routines, and I just watch them and I'm like, man, this is just not funny. It's just not fun, you know. But all those people, like, I'm not gonna throw shade off like Maya Rudolph. She's cool. She's cool. I was just watching, like I was saying, that movie Idiocracy. She's in that movie. I think that might be her first, or the gig that blew her up, or like maybe one of the first roles that blew her up. I don't know, but that was her. That was pretty early. She's young in that movie. But yeah, that what is that movie? Like, well, there was The Hangover with the guys. Yeah, and that was another set of like The Hangover. Those kinds of comics. I'm like, yeah, you got that kind of humor with the frat boy. Man-child style comedy, like that kind of gets old pretty fast too. But what was the equivalent? There was The Hangover, and then they made like Hangover 2 and Hangover 3. I think this was like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. That's when I started like falling off the comedy chain. I'm trying to think of that movie. Somebody mentioned it. No. It was like an all-female cast. Oh, Bridesmaids. Yeah, Bridesmaids. Now it was like The Hangover, and then there was like the female version of that, which was like Bridesmaids. And it was just, and both of these style of, and that was like the style of comedy for like a long time. This like kind of crude, rude, which is fine, like the crude, rude, but like very trying to be very adult, but really childish. Honestly, it's kind of like older people acting like children, right? And I think the message is kind of like, well, it's okay to be old, but have fun too, and or it's kind of like, well, we're older, but we're mature, but we can still be like rowdy and like bracing and shit. It's like, I don't know, that just kind of got old for me. And and the way they pulled it off, I just wasn't feeling it. Because there's some shows that do it well, like Golden Girls. One of these days, so as you can see, I still haven't constructed my shit, so there's still all this garage shit around. I'm gonna get a set, but let me show you this. Hello, Lemon. Yeah, now this is. Oh, look, I got that glare. Come on, that's good. Golden Girls. Have you ever seen that show? Old ass show. Now this is how you do it. Maybe you're like, okay, boomer. It's too bad all these ladies have passed away now. I believe that whole cast has passed away. But everybody gotta go sometime, right? I think the last one was Betty White. What's your favorite comedy movie and comedy show? Yeah, man, Golden Girls is one of my favorite shows. It's my favorite because that show was funny. That show was hella funny because it was older, women in their golden years, and it's like what Bridesmaids tried to do, even though it was after, but just failed at it. Right? It's like I guess Bridesmaids was doing something different, but and all the sequels to Bride because I mean there was a whole line of movies and spin-offs of that which I just couldn't get into. And the same thing with The Hangover, right? Where it was like dude focused, where it's very like masculine, but it's the same kind of humor, which I just can't get into. But Golden Girls, it was like, look, we old, but we still have sexual desires. Like we still out here dating, we still out here partying, we still out here having fun. We get into the drama. We're just not just sitting here playing bridge all the damn time. They live in life. And they just showed it in a very smart and funny and mature, but it was like silly. And they had different character types. Of course, you had the ditz, which was Betty White. But then you had the promiscuous one. Blanche. I was trying to remember. And then you had kind of the snarky, sarcastic one that always would highlight the irony of life, which was the main one. I forgot the name. And then you had the mama, who I believe was actually in real life was the youngest member of the show, even though she played the oldest, which is funny. But now that was a good show, man. Definitely know about. I'm 30. Okay, well, then you might. I mean, you could always see the reruns. You must like comedy that subverts stereotypes like Golden Girls. Sometimes. Yeah, that was a good show that subverted stereotypes. But you still believed like, oh yeah, these are some old ladies, but they were like not one dimensional, right? They had character depth, and they had the tropes, but they played the tropes with a lot of depth, like Betty White's character, who was like the ditzy one, which is like you always see that style of character, the dumb blonde, but she had a lot more depth to her, right? That made it it wasn't dismissive, right? She had a lot of depth to her character, and she was hella funny, played that role. And the same thing with Blanche. She was like the promiscuous one, always going out and loving life and having the sexual escapades, but she wasn't like one-dimensional like that. She had depth. She had like feelings and emotions, and you like rooted for her. And it was a blast. It was a blast, and you could get behind her, and you were down with her escapades. You're like, hell yeah, Blanche, no, she getting what she get. It was funny. And that reminds me of another show that I really like. What is it? Living Single, the show with the sitcom with Queen Latifah, and that was really popular in the 90s. That was another show that was kind of similar in a way, like it was about working women, and it had guys in the show too. But it was really special for its showcasing of black women just living life, and you got a taste of black culture, which was awesome. And then you got a taste of the single life for women, just trying to make it, and successful financial women living successfully financial lives, but still struggling with relationship problems and friendship issues, and also just being friends with each other. And that was fun. And I'd also like the fact that it wasn't all about the ladies. They had two guys in the show who were main characters, and they were cool. That was a good show. Who hit Tootie was in the show, right? Kim Fields is her real name. Tootie, the black girl from Facts of Life. She was in Living Single. It's funny because I'm young enough where when I was a little kid, Living Single was coming out, and I remember Mom was like, "Look, it's Regine." That was the character's name. Kim Fields is Regine. But I'm like, "Whoa, Regine is a little girl." It's like, yeah, she was in this show first, which was The Facts of Life, which is all right. But Living Single is like way better than that show, right? That's funny. And then Rose the dumb one, Blanche the promiscuous one, Dorothy. Yeah, Dorothy is the main one. She's hella funny, the sarcastic one, and Sophia is the critical one. Yeah, that's the mommy. Sophia. Dorothy was hella funny. She's sarcastic, and she could do so much with that look. She would give the a lot of times she had these looks that she would give it, and they would just be so funny. She'd just look at you like, yeah, you did something stupid. That what I showed you was a puzzle, a jigsaw puzzle. I actually bought this as a Valentine's Day gift for my wife because she loves the show too. And I think we put together the puzzle together because we love that show. And we couldn't find a place to put it, so I was gonna put it in this room once I get all this stuff situated. But that's a hell of a show. But yeah, a lot of '90s shows. Friends was alright. Friends was cool. That was another cool show. It wasn't as good as Living Single, but Friends was. I think it lasted longer than Living Single, right? Probably because there was more demand for all white cast and it's for all black, which is why it lasted long. And plus, I think the Fox network, which was Living Single, they were notorious for cutting shows pretty quickly, as opposed to, I think Friends was on NBC, I think, so that the Peacock channel, I think. I believe that was, and NBC had is more willing to like give shows a chance. Or like if they have lower ratings, they're like, well, let's not cut it yet, Let's give it as Fox is like, oh, the late ratings are slightly off, cancel. That's Fox is brutal about that. And I also like the stupid shows like Steve Urkel. But Steve Urkel is definitely a show that's dated as fuck, right? So I just like that for more of the nostalgia. The nostalgia, right? Got the Steve Urkel, and then the Full House. A lot of those '90s, a lot of the shows I like is shows that I grew up with, which I don't know if they stand the test of time. Full House is cool. It's just a little too, I guess, preachy. A little too, what is it? Wholesome, I would say. Which I think a lot of people like that, but for me, it's like, why don't we gotta get a little like, get a little immoral sometimes, right? But it's of that time. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like other. I also really like Martin, even though that's another show that's like, sometimes that show can be very just stupid, right? But it was funny. It was funny, and then I think some of those episodes, they're the political correctness. I guess all those old shows. I'm sure Full House even had some shows that were politically incorrect, which they probably don't even talk about. But yeah, what time is it? Yeah, I'll go for a little more. But yeah, rebellion in comedy. I like that. I like when. I think my favorite style of comedy is like a comedy that it is rebellious, what Jeremy was saying, but rebellious in the sense that it kind of highlights something in real life that needs to change because it's just like backwards, it's just stupid, right? I think comedy is very good at that, where people, it shows society in it shows like kind of um what is, let's see how I need to like really think about it. How should I phrase this? uh it's like a mirror, right? But it's a mirror. It's like a critique, or like, comedy is a great way to show a problem that's happening in the world, right? But in a way that is not preachy, right? In a way that makes you really think about the problem. Um, Sometimes we do. There are situations where we analyze problems, but it's too preachy or too sermon based, or it's too like, you feel like you're in a lecture, so you're not motivated to change. Comedy sometimes is a great way to highlight a problem and motivates you to like really like address the issue, or maybe not even address the issue, but just like acknowledge that there is a problem, which is important in and of itself. I think that's why comedy and humor, being funny, is like a coping mechanism for a lot of people, because some people say like, yeah, it's just my way to cope. I just laugh at shit. I'll even laugh at dark stuff, because really sometimes when you laugh at stuff, what you're actually doing is you're acknowledging how bad something is, but you're doing it in a way that's manageable. When you're laughing at something, you're not necessarily dismissing the problem or saying like that's not an important problem. I think that could be a misconception, right? When we're like, haha, that's so. You look at a problem, it's like, wow, that's so stupid. Isn't that dumb, right? Or like, some people will be in like a really bad situation, whether they're suffering from a disease or going through really tough problems in life, and they'll just laugh about it, joke about it. And somebody will say like, don't joke about that, that's serious. It's like, and the person will be like, this is my way of coping, right? And the response might be like, well, that shouldn't, coping, like, that's not a good way to cope, because you're not acknowledging the seriousness of the problem. But comedy can be a way to acknowledge the seriousness of a problem. Sometimes comedy does a better job, expressing how serious a problem is than just being serious about it, right? You can't do that. Uh, yeah, that's my favorite style of comedy, and a lot of shows do that. A lot of comics do that. A lot of television does that. Right. Let's see the chat here. Is there anything? What's your perception of people with a sense of humor? Well, a sense of humor is relative, and it is subjective, right? So it really does depend. Like, wow, you got a sense of humor. Maybe I feel like they have a sense of humor. Somebody else might be like, that person's not funny at all. So, somebody who keeps it real. A lot of times, just keeping something real, it can be very funny to me. Or you're not dodging the issue. You're like, yeah. If somebody's like, yeah, this shit sucks, man. I hate this shit. To me, that's kind of funny. And then kind of pointing out the absurdities of those, why they don't like it. And the intricacies of that. Some people might say, well, that's not being funny. That's complaining, right? Well, I don't know. I find complaining kind of humorous. But lots of people find complaining annoying as fuck. But, so there you go. Like, some people, sense of humor is relative. It is subjective. That's my perception. And then Nadia says, I think that's why I like dark comedy, making light of a subject matter that is considered painful to discuss. Yeah. Yeah. And when you're making light of a subject through comedy, it depends on how you're doing it. But sometimes when people are, dark comedy, for instance, that's not necessarily like belittling or belittle belittle not acknowledging the seriousness of the problem. Like that's not what's happening. Um, you know, Making light of the problem in a way, like what you're saying. It's painful to discuss it. So sometimes it's hard to discuss something, or it's like you can't really discuss it. You can only discuss it through comedy. So the only way you can discuss something is making light of it, which is, and in that way you're acknowledging the problem, right? Um, so I don't have a problem with dark comedy. Some people like, yeah, I don't like dark comedy because I don't like laughing about serious things, but I don't know. Sometimes that's the only way you can really talk about serious things is through comedy. But it does depend. Sometimes it's not appropriate, but sometimes it's the only way to to deal with it. So I hear what you're saying. Do you hang around funny people daily? I don't think so. Yeah, that'd be cool if I did, but no. And then we got Africa stop HIV ads virus. Uh-oh. I do allow okay, I gotta go here. Some veering off of topic, but not unwanted what is it here? Not spam. Which category should I say? Unwanted commercial content? It's not pornography. It's not child abuse. It's not hate speech. You're not promoting terrorism. Misinformation. I'll just say unwanted commercial content. Goodbye. This comment no longer is visible other than the commenter. Hide user on my channel? No, that's not necessary. We don't have to do all that. Okay, so now we're saying. Okay, what's going on here? I think that's okay. Do you like when people say have a sense of humor? It does come across as bullying. Yeah, so it really does depend. It really does depend. If somebody's like, look, I'm not in the mood to joke about this. Oh, just have a sense of humor about it. It's like, no, no, no. I'm telling you, I'm not in the mood. So it's I'm all about the consent. It got to be consensual. It got to be consent. Like if you're okay with joking, it's fine. But if the person say like, yeah, I'm not okay right now, don't do that. Um, then yeah, I do think it's kind of bullying. It can be. I like laughing daily. It makes life easier. For instance, when something happens that is inconvenient, I like to try to make light of it. It's all part of the plot. Yeah, no, that's definitely a way. Do you laugh every day? I think I do, but I not consciously. I don't like consciously try to do it. I think that's just my nature. So I gotta laugh. But I do know other people who do not do that. They're like, they're kind of like that Daria or Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. And hey, that's their prerogative. you know. But good on you. I also enjoy laughing every day. That's no nothing wrong with that. And does Jeremy do that? I don't know. Um, is that? Let me see. Just bring up my description. Did I want to talk about anything else? What makes someone laugh? Mom jokes. So I guess that's all I want to talk about. it says, I've noticed you like to laugh or give a little giggles. I do that as well. That's just automatic nature. Because I know some people, they're like, I gotta make a conscious effort to laugh. Because, I gotta stop taking life seriously. But it just comes naturally for me. I know sometimes I get comments because apparently I don't even notice, like, every time I start my videos, welcome to the Black Ponderer, and then I kind of giggle. Or maybe I'll say I'm Neil Charter, then I'll laugh. And some people are like, why are you laughing during the intro? I'm like, first of all, why? Like, damn, dude, like, you're hyper critiquing a video. Like, and I'm like, I don't know. It's just, that's what I do. I guess I do because so people also say, like, why do you call yourself the Black Ponder? When I first did it, it was like a joke. Like, it was literally a joke. Like, I just, because I had a few friends that watched my videos in the beginning, and I was just like, I'll just call myself the Black Ponder, and we were just laughing about it. I don't think those people watch my those friends watch my videos anymore. But I kept it because I think it means more than that now. But I still, like, every time I say this is the Black Ponder, I still think about that joke. The comedic origins of that video, that title, because the Black Ponder. It's a kind of it's pretty funny name for a YouTube channel, I think. Yeah, I think it's a nice trade. I'm exactly the same. Yeah, some people are just like that. They're just silly people. And just, you just laugh for no reason. Sometimes that happens to me too. I just laugh for no reason. Sometimes I just laugh. I also laugh when other people laugh. When I hear somebody else laugh, I will just laugh because it's like infectious to me. Which is, some people say laughter is infectious. No, not for some people. Some people, they'll hear a laugh and they'll just get stone cold face. It depends. Particularly when somebody like busts out laughing, like those Roseanne laughs. That's another show I used to like a lot, the Roseanne show. That's another comic who's kind of basically sort of got canceled, right? Which is too bad. I remember they tried to bring that show back, right? And I think it was actually kind of successful, but then Roseanne said some crazy thing about Muslims, and then now she can't work there anymore, which is too bad. But the old school show Roseanne, they would have the title theme song, and then at the end she would bust out laughing. She'd give the the nasally high pitched laugh. Every time somebody laughs like that, I just have to laugh as a response to that. So that's funny. Every time I see that theme song at the end, I also laugh. Like, every time, just because that laugh is so funny to me. Anyway, I think it's time to conclude. Unless if anybody else has something they want to bring up, I would. I just want to say thank you for joining the show, and for those who came in live, and for those who will, if you're gonna watch later, that's cool too. Let me see the next topic, because I think somebody recommended another topic. Let's see here. Somebody recommended. So this is not so funny. Mental illness, right? Although I'm gonna laugh anyway because that's what I do. But somebody recommended to talk about mental illness. Sure. So that's gonna be kind of heavy. That's gonna be a little heavy, but it won't be too heavy because this is a Black Ponderer after all. But yeah, that was a recommended topic, so we'll talk about that. That's next time. But until next time, I'll see y'all later. Thanks for watching. Before I go, let me check to make sure I didn't accidentally miss. Because one time I stopped and I missed some chat. So let's see. looks like I'm good. Oh, wait a minute. Live, all messages are visible. Okay, I think I'm good. So, yes, thanks, and I'll see y'all later. Bye bye. Bye bye, Nadia. Thanks. See ya.